this call, as Hallie quite rightly said, is really a taster for things to come in terms of the conference. And we won't be using this sort of technology at the conference, so we won't have the initial teething problems there. The idea of the call today is really to give everybody a taste of the sort of provocative questions and the sort of conversation that you can expect at the conference. And I'm just going to take a show of hands of those I can see for people who've attended the conference before. Okay, so some people who haven't. So we hope you're going to come, and if you haven't registered already, then make sure that you do. I'll say a little bit about the logistics of the conference at the end of this call. So the theme for the conference is tending the fire, and it's actually catching new sparks. And in the business of catching new sparks, we will, I have no doubt, create new ones together. Virginia Kellogg and I, as Hallie said, we are co-chairs of the conference committee responsible for organising the conference this year, and we couldn't have come this far without the tremendous help and support of everybody on the board of ACTO. Everybody is a volunteer, and it's just incredible the help and support that we've had from everybody on the board, particularly the education committee. And thanks to the committee for the opportunity tonight. I'm saying tonight because I'm speaking to you from the northeast of England in the UK. It's about 5:25 in the evening, and it's pitch black. Our winter has definitely begun. So why did we, the board, decide on the conference theme of tending the fire and catching new sparks? Well, because really we wanted to focus on the fundamentals of coach training. And tending the fire part of the conference theme is really about what we know is working well, what we know is best demonstrated practice, and what people are doing in the coach education and training world that is successful and helping learners learn well and efficiently and effectively and sustainably. The Catching New Sparks part of the conference theme is really about looking at what's coming in the future, what's just on the horizon, what we're moving towards as coach trainers. What are the innovations in teaching and learning? So as the context for today's call, really what I want to say is that ACTO takes a stand for a concept called co-opetition. Some of you may well be very familiar with this term, and it might be new to others. So co-opetition, this concept, is what ACTO stands for in terms of being collaborators in a community of peers, and also competitors in a market where we're actually promoting and have businesses around coach education and training. So it's the combination of, even though we're in a competitive context, we're also collaborators, we're a community of peers, and we believe in sharing best demonstrated practice and sharing new ideas, knowledge, different approaches, different ways of doing things. So what we've learned as ACTO members is, over the years, co-opetition enriches all of us, and that there aren't winners and losers and sharers and non-sharers. It's about being open with each other in the community that is ACTO. So we know that one of the that people come to the conference is to share that best demonstrated practice, to share understanding, to share new approaches, and to meet established colleagues, new colleagues, and to get refueled. I know that's why I go to the conference. So this is where our focus will be on the call today. And don't worry, I'm not going to talk for the whole call, I promise you. So a bit more context setting, really, just to say that there is this year a pre-conference for the first time to the main conference. So the pre-conference is Wednesday, the 6th of May, 2015, amazing year. And the main conference runs from Thursday, the 7th of May to Saturday, the 9th of May. And the pre-conference, being new to ACTO this year, is focusing on best practices of 2 of the ICF core competencies, and they are presence and direct communication. So the pre-conference day, Wednesday, 9 till 5, 6th of May, will be presence and direct communication. Colleagues, ACTO colleagues, well known and very inspirational ACTO colleagues, Peter Redding and Marcia Reynolds, will be leading the session on presence. And ACTO members and colleagues, inspirational Hope Landner and Elena Espinal, will be leading the second focus on the core competency of direct communication. And to round out the pre-conference day, there'll be a bonus keynote by Kyoko Seki from Japan. And if those of you who've worked with Kyoko or been present in her workshops, training and keynotes will know that she's a truly amazing woman. So we're very lucky and very grateful to have long-time inspirational leading coaches and colleagues who are helping us take these competencies deeper. So that would be the pre-conference day. And the evening of the pre-conference will be a welcome reception that kicks off the main conference on Thursday, the 7th of May. And again, colleagues who've been to the conferences before and attended the welcome reception will know that they're very informal affairs, they're very connecting, they're very lively, and there's, you know, food and something to drink with it, just to help get in the mood for the main conference the next morning. So during the pre-conference, we'll have quite long sessions on the 2 ICF core competencies. And this is about tending the fire. This is about what are the best practices and the new ideas that are coming through in teaching these 2 particular competencies. So in line with our concept of co-opetition, provocative questions and sharing conversation, I want to pose a couple of questions to everybody here present, really in terms of tending the fire. So I'd like us all just to think for a couple of moments in silence, and you're all muted anyway, so actually it will be in silence. What about presence? So take a couple of moments to think about presence. And what is presence? What do you know that is presence? And having thought about that for a moment, just take another moment to think about and reflect on, what do you do in order to teach presence? What do you do in order to teach presence? And I'm going to ask Hallie to unmute. Is that the way to do it, Hallie? You tell me. And I just want to just like to hear from a few people about in order to teach it. And if you could say your name, where you're from, and your coaching school, that would be great.
I think the best way to do it, because we get a lot of feedback when I unmuted everybody, is just, if you are going to speak, just unmute yourself by clicking on your mic in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and then mute yourself again when you're finished speaking. I think the best way. And if you're on the phone, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Who wants to start with what is presence?
I can start. The training program that I'm associated with, I'm actually Hallie, even though it says Robin Knight on there. That's just the account we're using to facilitate this call. I'm with Accomplishment Coaching, and I live in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And we're an ontologically based program. So ontology being the study of the nature of being. So for us, presence for us is a equivalent term to being. So who you're being in the world, and taking a look at that, and looking at the being first and then doing after you've decided who you want to be about the matter. So being is something that is innate in people. So their being is something they bring into a room when they walk in. And when you look at them, even if you don't know them, there's something that comes with them. There's qualities, there's innate qualities that come with them. And when we say that using your being and your presence is how you create the space, the container for coaching to happen in. So it's not by anything you say or do, it's actually your being and your presence in relationship with your clients. And I could go on to the what do you do to teach it, but I don't know if you want to do that now or get some other, or just presence.
Yeah, let's hear, thanks Hallie. So that's great. Let's hear some other voices in the room.
Hi, this is Kathy Harmon.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, and I'm with Success Unlimited Network, run by Terry Belf. And with us, presence is the ability to be focused completely. It's very similar to what Hallie just said. To be able to focus completely on what's going on right in front of you with the client at that time. And being able to, before you even start with that client, to clear things out, get rid of your own emotional, mental, physical, spiritual baggage before you even start. So it's giving your all to the client.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Who next?
Hi, this is Marion Franklin.
Hi, Marion.
Hi, Life Coaching Group. I'm in New York. And so for me, presence is, well, to be present is to be connected with the 5 senses. So whether we're listening or seeing or touching, feeling, smelling, any one of those senses is what presence actually means. And so in coaching, because we're typically doing it on the phone, for me, it's all about the listening. And as everybody has already said, being fully present, being fully there, and listening in a way that separates, I want to say, the words from the emotion and from the gist of what's being shared. So it's being able to be so present that the words become, I want to say, almost irrelevant in a sense, but rather that we're listening for what's really going on for this person versus their story that they're sharing or their responses per se. So it's really just being fully there, which is kind of what everybody has said.
That's great, Marion. Thank you. So what do we each and all do in order to teach presence? What are the different ways of teaching presence to your students?
This is Dorothy, and I'm Dorothy Greenaway from Toronto. My company is People Dynamics Learning, and we deliver a program called the Business Coaching Advantage. The idea of how do we teach coaching is linked to how we think about presence, how we teach presence. We think about presence as presence in the moment, as well as coaching presence. So present to yourself, present to other, and then what is the personal presence you bring? So looking at it from the perspective of that in the moment. So when we teach in the moment, we talk about how do you get present, and so we take our students through practices of bringing themselves present and in the moment, and then doing it in partners, bringing themselves present to each other. And we do it sometimes with doing it in silence initially, and then sharing what the experience is what is my body sensation, what is going on. So we do most of our work initially is experiential. First check in with self, then check in with other, and then communicate about each other about what's going on in the moment. So that's one aspect of it. And I can go on about the coaching presence and personal presence, but I'll leave space for someone else to speak.
Thanks, Dorothy. I heard what you say about giving experiential exercises and activities in order to help people become present in order to teach it.
Yes, and recognize when they're present and when they're not present, and how to bring themselves to presence.
Does anybody else want to share any of their activities in order to teach it, teach the core competence?
From a being perspective, a lot of what we train is, because we see it as what you bring into the space, your innate qualities. A lot of what we do is providing the personal work and the tools to allow people to remove the blocks between them and another person. So shedding the judgments, the assessments, the fears, the stuff that they have going on over here that will act as a barrier between their essential self, their being, and someone else. So really learning how to recognize when you've got those layers on that are actually going to prevent you from actually connecting with another human being, and be able to move them aside.
And I know that one of the things that the ACTO conference is great at facilitating is facilitating the sort of deeper conversations that we don't have time for today, which might be about, so, you know, tell me about some of those activities, tell me about some of those tools, and actually sharing some of the specifics. Hi, Terry, I see you've just joined us. Almost. So moving on then from there, we know that and experience sometimes the power and privilege and rank that's in the room with coach trainers and educators and students. And I know a lot of us have done work on the rank, the power, and the privilege that is in the container of teaching and learning. So thinking about presence and thinking about how the relationship between coach, educator, and trainer and student learner, I wonder how we create an environment in which clients are not trying to please us. And how do we teach students to do this? You can see a couple of nods. Does anybody have any thinking around that?
How do we teach clients not to please us? And how do we teach students not to please us?
How do we teach students? How do we teach students to do this? How to create the environment in which clients aren't trying to please us, in which their clients aren't trying to please them?
I'm sure there's some broad sweeping like ways that I'm actually interested in. One of the things that I do when I'm listening to people's coaching is there's really, really subtle ways that we actually create a dynamic with our clients where there's an approval dynamic. So it seems like a really fine line between acknowledging them for successes and making it seem like that's what the goal is. You know, like, good job, or using language like that's right, as opposed to encouraging them to do whatever they think is right. So it's the subtleties that I'm most fascinated by, the subtle ways that we create a dynamic where people are looking for our approval, and filtering that language out of our speaking to have it not be about performance and approval, because it does seem to be a common theme, particularly amongst coach trainees, the performance dynamic. So
Yes.
just the subtle things. I'm sure other people have some things to say about the non-subtle things, maybe.
This is Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi there. And one of the things that we do is to make the students aware that this happens, because most of the time they don't even realize that this is. So to have them look for some of the warning signs, and to keep that in mind at all times, that, you know, there's this tendency to be looking at you as the guru or the wise one who knows all, as opposed to being the partner in them finding, you know, in them being the wise one who knows all. And just the alerting them to that's happening is very powerful.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? How do we teach sort of granting the relationship equal power?
This is Dorothy, and part of the work of doing this is related to the mindset and what is the stance that we come to the relationship with as coach and client, and really engaging in a learning partnership. So the idea that we use a lot is this idea of a learning partnership, and that we're in a shared process of learning, and a deep part of that is, what is the mindset we're coming from? Are we coming from an appreciative, strengths-based, possibility-oriented mindset? Are we both coming at it with that from that perspective? Are we coming at it from an inquiring mindset, a responsive and non-judgmental? So that mindset is a key factor in that, but it's inviting the client into the space and teaching the student the process of how to invite a client into a mindset and a space of shared learning.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. I'm just conscious of time, colleagues, so unless somebody has something they really want to get out here, we're just going to move on now to the Catching New Sparks part of our conference theme. So Catching New Sparks, that part of the conference theme, is all about sharing innovation, catalyzing and creating other innovations, sharing new ideas and methodologies. And there'll be a focus for that part of the theme on what is next for your organization. So at the main conference, there'll be several sessions that allow you to share new thinking, new ideas, and new sparks about the ways that you are training your coaches, and also sharing your organizational and business challenges. The world is shifting very fast in terms of coach education and training, not as fast as the 35,000 miles an hour of the comet that I was talking about earlier, but certainly fast. So there'll be lots of opportunity at the conference to share what's coming up for you, what's new on your horizon, what would you like to know and share more of. And so just reminding you about the concept of co-opetition that we have at ACTO, so this mix of competition and cooperation, and sharing deeply with each other about our work. because this is work that we all care about, it's work that we all do, and it's work that we are passionate about, making a positive difference in the world. So I just want to ask a couple of questions in relation to the catching new sparks part of the theme for us to think about and share. So just take a couple of moments to think about what is it that you wish you had help with from other coach trainers? And what is it that you're currently grappling with in your organization? And it might be the same thing as the thing you wish you had help with. So it might be in ways that you teach students, or topics, or internal organizational changes, how you're teaching a particular skill, restructuring your organization and your business. So what's one thing you wish you had help with from other coach trainers?
This is Marian Franklin again. I wish that I had people who could teach the way that I'm teaching through storytelling and examples, and very experientially versus intellectually. And if I could find people that I could train to teach that way, that would be really exciting for me.
Thank you. And I'm sure there'll be conversations, Marian, at the conference sparked by that will enrich. Who else? Well, for me, I wish I had help from other coach trainers in terms of how to help more people be trained and aware of coach approaches and principles. I found it relatively easy to get into public sector systems, education system, healthcare system, and I found it much more difficult to bring coach education and training to, or pull people into it from other private sector organizations. So I wish I had help in bringing people to the coach education and training Coaching Works offers.
Jan, this is Kathy Harmon again. And one of the things that I have been wrestling with quite a bit is, how do we support the people that we've trained in making a living as a coach when they get out? And I feel a responsibility as I'm training them to help them in some way to be able to create a viable business. And it is so difficult. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and we're extremely conservative city. In fact, probably one of the most conservative in the United States. And I feel like if I'm going to be training people, I need them to be able to know that they can make a living at it when they're done. And so that's one of the things I would love to hear, how other training organizations do that. I mean, I've got a piece that helps them learn how to build a business and be entrepreneurs and market and network, etc. But still, too many people are coming out and having to go back to corporate America or whatever and not coach. They have to give up coaching. And I just think that we've got a responsibility to help with that.
Make sure you tune into our forum call in January.
Yes, I will definitely be at that one.
This is Dorothy. One of the things that we're curious about is how different organizations are, what is the newest and best, or the different ways organizations are assessing student performance against the standards. So I'm curious to know what's new and different around that as you're doing feedback to students, as you're assessing, as you're growing competency, and really what is a way we can really accelerate the learning process for our students so that they can gain their competencies in a way that is both, what was the word somebody used earlier? Efficient, effective, and there was a third word that was lovely. I think it was Jan. You had 3 words: efficient, effective, and whatever. So it's about, pardon me?
I said
sustainable. Okay.
And sustainable.
So we're just curious about that.
That's great. And again, Dorothy, I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities to explore those further, both on the subsequent forum calls and at the pre-conference and the conference itself. I know we've had some input on the chat from a number of people, and I am just curious what happens to the chat, whether there's some way of...
Well, I can read it out, but Terrence is saying, given we have participants from multiple countries in each cohort, the notion of coaching across cultures is an area of great interest for them.
Yes, and again, there'll be fantastic opportunities both at the pre-conference and at the main conference to explore and share some of those, some of the innovations that are happening in that area. So one of the things that I want you to know is at our main conference, we're very thrilled to have Kyoko Seki and Catherine Holt speaking at the main conference as a lengthy opener, and their session will provide perspectives on this. So really be there. Somebody on the chat, is it Horia, has talked about the fact that one of the things that's changing is the move to peer coaching. So having a mentor coach and a mentee. And I know that in the UK, peer coaching is very well embedded in the system and is a requirement for many of the contracts for work, or for many of the organizations that we do training for in the UK. So I think it's a growing thing in the US, and not sure about other places. But certainly peer coaching would be one of the things that would be really keen to explore more at the conference. Sorry, I'm finding that I'm trying to read the chat screen, which is busy.
We can invite people who are typing on chat. We can invite you to actually speak.
Thank you.
Unmute yourself and speak. It's okay. We have, right.
Terence, I know you raised the coaching across cultures part of the conversation. Is there anything more you want to say around that?
I just unmuted you, Terence.
Oh, thank you. There's so much to say or think about. Yet, I think one of them is the extent to which there's some cultural capabilities in the ICF competencies, and yet as we start working with particularly learners from different regions of the world, they're starting to ask about some of the cultural assumptions that are actually embedded in the ICF competencies, which is a question that we weren't getting 5 years ago. I.e. direct communication, for example. um, and some others. But that's the obvious one. When we look at different cultural frameworks, where something like communication can be viewed along a continuum, effective communication can be viewed along a continuum of indirect to direct. The unintentional privileging of direct communication compared to other forms of communication. So that's just a concrete, quick example. Not viewing it as a critique to the ICF competencies, but more an exploration of them.
Thanks, Terence. That's fantastic. And Terence is going to be one of our catalysts at the conference. And I think just to say that at the conference, there will be lots of opportunity for mining these sorts of issues and for exploring them in a much more deep way. So thanks for bringing that in. I'm just conscious of time. So I'm wanting to I suppose leave you with a question to reflect on, which would be building on what Terence has just brought to the call, which would be what's changed in the world of coach training that we need to talk about at the conference. And I think you've just given us a beautiful example of one of those things. As we draw to a close, I just want to encourage everybody really to register for the conference. The early bird rate is still there until the 13th of December. So if you haven't already done that, there's a great rate for a package that is the pre-conference and the main conference. There's an even better deal if you bring more people from your school. Bring staff, bring faculty from your school, and the rate goes down. I would encourage everybody to get their accommodation booked as soon as possible. It turns out that more or less the biggest conference in the world is being held in Orlando over our conference dates. So accommodation is really, really tight. So please book your accommodation if you haven't already done that. People have said before in their evaluation of ACTO that they've really benefited from this rich community of peers that we belong to, from the sharing, from the networking, from the new connections, the new approaches that they've gained. So please encourage your other colleagues to sign up, particularly people from other parts of the world who perhaps aren't so familiar with ACTO, in fact, might not have even heard of ACTO. So as coach trainers and educators, let's educate people in terms of the community of ACTO. So if there's one key spark from today that you're excited about and taking away, what might that be?
I'm just excited about getting to there and meeting other trainers. This taste of the questions and the conversation that happened really piqued my interest. I'm looking forward to it.
Great, Kathy. See you there. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm always intrigued by the parallels and just the slightly different language that everybody uses, but it's all the same. And I think it really is a great way to highlight learning is by noticing small differences oh, you do it that way. Well, that's interesting. And so just in hearing people speak about the same but different it's really piques my appetite for that.
Great. Well, this has just been a canapé. I think it's been a sort of a tiny bit of a canapé.
Yes.
So really look forward to the rich feast that will be, the rich and varied feast that will be the ACTO pre-conference and conference. So May the 6th to the 9th in Orlando. Virginia Kellogg and I really look forward to seeing you there. And I want to thank everybody on the call and off the call. So people who are listening to the recordings, people who couldn't get on the call, people who were on the call and lost it, and people who landed on the call. I really appreciate all of you taking the time and making the effort to attend and to contribute to our rich community, which is ACTO. And I'll see you all at the conference in May. So, good day, good afternoon, good morning, wherever it is in your world.
Next forum call is actually in January. So January 21st, thriving businesses for our students. So we'll see you all there. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see you in January.
Thanks.